of thought.
Get ready.
Dark. Think about this. Yes. You understand? Dark. Yes.
Peace, folks, and welcome back to another edition of the Prophet of Thought series right here on the old T.P.O.T YouTube page. I'm your host, X, of course, but you knew that already. That's why you're here. And tonight is DXL, Doc X, live. And tonight, I have a special guest for y'all tonight. As you can see, the title of the show is Dark Exodus Live, Ruled by Racism with Dr.YaYa. And we're going to get into it tonight, y'all. We're going to, we're going to talk about the many aspects of racism. And we're going to talk about how many of us as Black folks, we have let racism cripple us and augment us, and we have let racism be the reason for many of our shortcomings. A lot of us have a tendency to use racism as hey, what's good, WOTP, Lady Linda, I see you up there. A lot of us let racism, we kind of use it as a crutch, many of us. And we're going to talk about that too. We're going to talk about how we have many times as Black folks, we have let racism hinder us. We have given racism way too much credit in our lives at times. Now, being a Black person, I mean, I understand, that racism exists. I mean, when I was a young guy, I grew up in probably one of the most bigoted, racist freaking counties ever when I was a young guy, a long time ago in Suffolk County. And you talking about in New York, where you would think people were a little more progressive and a little more diverse-minded. But when I was coming up, that had to be one of the most racist freaking counties on earth. All right. I grew up in that county. I went to school in that county. So I'm very familiar with racism and bigotry and discrimination and prejudice. Very familiar with it. Very familiar. Okay. I went to the schools. I worked there, all of that. Grew up there. So I'm no stranger to racism. But I was never taught as a child to use racism as a hindrance. I was taught that racism exists, but you can do pretty much anything you want to do if you put your mind to it. That's what I was taught. I was taught to do things despite of the the racial discrimination, despite of the bigotry and prejudice. I was taught to do things despite of that. Okay, I was never taught to let racism be a fence between me and what I wanted to do in my life. And as I start to have children, I taught them the same thing. Did I teach my children about racism and prejudice and bigotry and all that kind of stuff? Yes, I did. But I also taught them that you can't use racism as this hurdle. Okay. Racism can't be your only hurdle in life. You can't fall back on that and say, I can't do this because I'm black. I mean, and I've actually heard people say that, and nothing sickens me more when a person says the only reason that they're using that they cannot do something is because they are black. If that's your only reason, I feel for you. Okay. If that's your only reason, I feel for you because you have bigger problems than racism. You have bigger problems than whatever racism effects has on you. Your problems are bigger than that. Okay, they just are. If your only reason for failure, your only reason for not chasing goals, chasing dreams, your only reason for not having any ambition, desire, or interest in anything in your life is that you are black, trust me, your problem is bigger than racism. Okay, your problem is bigger than that. And I will have the doc speak to that when she comes on, because she'll be coming on any minute. She's the psychologist. I am not. So I'll have her speak to that when she comes on. Like I said, we'll be joined by Dr.YaYa tonight. Her and I have become pretty good friends. We're in contact with each other quite often. We kick the shit. She may be a doctor, but she's pretty much a normal person. So me and her, we have become pretty cool. Over the course of time, and tonight she's gonna come on, and we're gonna get at this. We're gonna get at this ruled by racism, because I think many of us are. We're ruled by racism. We let racism imprison us, and we let it imprison us mentally. We let it imprison us mentally. We let it imprison us, man. You know, and nothing can be a bigger cop out to your life as a black person than racism. To let racism, to let racism be your only reason for not succeeding. I feel for you. Like I said before, I feel for you, because you're being ruled by it. And I'll say again, we all know that freaking America is racist and prejudiced and bigoted and discriminatory. That's nothing new. It's always been that. Okay. And black folks, we have suffered under these things more than anyone else. All right. I'm a true believer of that we have felt the sting. We have felt the sting of discrimination and racism probably more than anyone else. All right. We have. But at the same time, you would think that, especially when you're talking about in 2018, racism shouldn't be holding anybody back, shouldn't be holding black folks back. It really shouldn't. I mean, that's just my point of view. And the guest of honor has arrived, the one and only Dr.YaYa is in the house, y'all. What's good, Doc?
Hey, how you doing? How you doing?
What's going on? What's going on?
Life is good.
I was just telling the folks that, you know, if your only reason for not chasing your ambitions and desires and your interests is because you're black, I think that your problems are bigger than
Oh my goodness, much bigger.
racism.
Much bigger.
So
oh my goodness, that's all. If that's the only excuse you have, there's something else going on. It's got to be something else going on. Oh my goodness.
That's what I said. I said, well, you know, she's the doctor, you know, she's the psychologist, so she can speak to whatever other ills you may have because.
Oh my goodness, yes. So how are you doing on this night?
I'm good. What about you, Doc?
I am well. All is well. I'm excited about this topic. I'm excited about the folks. Shout out to the chat.
It's been a while. It's been a while.
Oh yeah, it's been a while. It's been a while, but it's good to be back. It's good.
Absolutely. Well, I'm gonna give y'all full disclosure. You know, I don't want y'all to think that the doc is just somebody that I just kind of dragged on here. We actually kind of, you know, have somewhat of a relationship. So, you know, I'm a full disclosure person. You know.
Okay.
Me and the doc are cool. I just want y'all to know that me and the doc are cool. All right.
You know, we good. We good.
Yeah, we cool. Well, let me ask you this, Doc. Do you think that oftentimes, I mean, maybe not all of us or half of us, but I think a good swath of us have a tendency to be ruled by the racism that we encounter, that we feel, that we see takes place with others? Do you think that many of us are ruled by said racism?
I think that although a vast majority of us are affected by racism, I can agree that a small percentage is ruled by racism. And I'm going to tell you why. Because to be ruled by something means that you're under control, right? You're under control. And if that's the first thing on your mind, if that's what you're always thinking about, and that's how you make your moves, and that's how you deal with people on a daily basis, you are ruled by that thing. Now, those of us who are affected by it, which means that it produces a material influence or an alteration in us, that means that we see it, we recognize it, so we govern ourselves accordingly, as it were. It doesn't mean that we stop doing what we do. It just means that I see you, I know you exist, and I'm going to deal with you accordingly. Okay, so we're most of us, you know, are affected by it. We can't help that. You know, that's the way it was established. But understand this: racism is the other person's problem. Whoever is racist against you, that's their problem. Racism has never been a black problem. Okay, that's why we can't fix it. We can only move and govern ourselves accordingly. Not to be ruled by racism means when I wake up in the morning, I'm thinking about it, I'm angry about it, because to be controlled by something means I put everything into it. I put my habits, I put my emotions, I put my thoughts, you know, I put everything into this thing, so much so that I can be blinded by my potential. So I would say that there is a small percentage that are ruled by it. And I think that usually comes from being so hurt. You know, some people can get so hurt by how they've been treated that's first and foremost. I mean, if we think about women who've been hurt by men, that one man hurt her and she'll never love again, and she's treating everybody like that other, you know, man. Anything that rules you is what you're going to give your all to. And that's how you're going to govern your life. That's how you're going to get up, and you're going to miss out on just going out there and living. So there are a small percentage of us who are ruled by racism. And this is because of the hurt that is produced. You know, every time I go for a job interview and I hit a wall, right? I may feel like, you know what, I can't do this anymore. I'm not doing it. I know you don't like me because I'm black. I know that. And so you just won't put in any more applications. You know, that's it. Everybody you speak to, you're going to tell them, I went to 10 jobs and all of them didn't hire me because they didn't like me because I'm black. Well, forget the fact that you weren't qualified for the job. We just gonna say that it was because you're black. Why? Because I've given myself over to that because of my past experience. So it absolutely happens. It happens.
Well, being black folks in this here US of A, do you think that we have we given racism and bigotry and discrimination uh too much credit? Have we given it too much power over our lives? Like, I mean, because you hear people, talk, and I hear people talk, I'm on media, and everything's the white man. It's this the white man causes every problem in my life that I've ever had has been caused somehow, some way by the white man. Now, I don't believe that. I know that white supremacy exists, but I don't blame white supremacy for every little thing that takes place in my life. Because if I'm blaming it for all the bad, that means I have to blame it for the good too, right? If I'm blaming it for everything, that means I have to blame it for the good as well. So, what do you think?
Wow. Well, we know that things are established. Things have been established to block a certain segment of people. We know that. We know about redlining. We know about not giving loans. We know all of this. This has been policy for years. This is not new. Policy for centuries. This is not new. Like I said, we are affected, but we don't have to be ruled. Most of the time, because of everybody can handle psychological pressure. And this is psychological warfare. If I put into place something to hinder you as a law, I don't have to bind you in chains. I just have to say, this is what it is. And that can cause frustration. So a lot of people cannot handle that type of frustration, because what do I do when I feel like I'm being hindered? And the majority of the time, the first thing that we do is we blame. We don't really look at ourselves. We really don't put the mirror up, because we look at the people around us. I didn't get the job because, you didn't like me. This didn't happen because I got a spanking. This didn't happen, because they didn't give me water when I was thirsty. Whatever it may be, that's what we come to first. That's what most of us come to first. And when you're dealing with racism, because we all have to deal with it. We've all at some point in our lives have had to deal with racism. Sometimes that can have such an overpowering effect that it affects everything else, and it affects everything about you. It affects your relationships. If your significant other has a white friend and you got a problem with racism, you're gonna tell them, get rid of that friend. They're no good for you, whatever it may be. Because everyone cannot handle that, because what they see at every point is failure, failure, failure. I failed at this, so it's got to be that. I failed at this, so it's got to be that. So there's really nothing to say, how do I deal with the racism that I deem, right? That my perception of the racism that I'm experiencing. And so we really don't get to that point. We get to the point where I'm just going to blame it on that. I'm going to sulk about it, and I'm going to complain about it. But what do I do about it? So I agree with you that if I give something so much blame, then I have to give it credit. You can't get around it. If I give you so much blame, so when things happen, I have to in turn give you some type of credit, because that means you yourself have removed that particular obstacle. Right?
Yeah.
So there are things that we have to think of racism as a chain. Okay, there are links in this. There's classism, which we ourselves participate in as a community. So we just gonna pull the sheet off of that. We participate in classism, which is AKA colorism. That doesn't help. We can't do anything about racism, but we can certainly do something about classism in our own community, which contributes to that. Like I said, racism is not a black issue. That's a white issue. But classism and colorism, that's a black issue. We can certainly do something about that. But that's a link in this chain of racism. So there's certain things that we don't like when someone else does it to us. But when we in turn do it to ourselves, we really don't. We're not as hard on ourselves, as it were.
Well, let me ask you this, Doc. When do you think we as black people, when do you think we feel the most racism? Do we encounter, I should say, do we encounter the most racism socially, economically? I mean, when do you think that we encounter the most racism as Black folks? Because like you said, there's different levels of racism and bigotry and discrimination. You know, there's housing discrimination, and there's employment discrimination and financial discrimination, all that kind of stuff. Where do you think we encounter the most of it as Black people in this here US of A?
Oh my goodness, that would certainly have to be economically, because everything else is going to trickle down. I mean, socially, if I'm at a bar and you know, someone says, you know, you the N word, you this, that, the other, I don't care about that, because you're not taking anything from me. But when it comes to dealing with me on an economical basis, you're taking from me. That's my livelihood. I have to feed my family. You know, I like to eat. I know it doesn't look like it, but I like to eat. So that right there is the main issue. That is the main issue. And then we have to think about, well, how do we deal with that? How do we deal with hitting those roadblocks? And I think that most of the time when people deal with that type of racism economically, they fall apart. Especially if it's a Black man who has to take care of his family, And we know in times past that it was so horrendous that, you know, you couldn't even get a business started. You know, you couldn't get anything going, because, you know, they're ready to protest and, you know, don't come to this business, and we don't sell to the N words, and, you know, things of that nature. And so nothing much has changed. It's a little more subtle. You know, I can say I got your resume right in front of me and not hire you. You know, remember, racism is a hard issue. You cannot legislate morality. There is no law, I don't care what you call it, a hate law. There is no law that can stop a person from hating you. I'm just saying. So when I hate you enough to hurt you, then the law comes in. Not because I hate you, but because I hurt you while I hated you. See, so there's nothing to say that I have to stop hating you, because that's a personal issue. We know a lot of people who are backstabbers. We know a lot of people who will grin in your face and stab you in the back. Okay? So when it comes to racism, there's nothing to say, you know, while I'm shaking your hand, Mr. X, yes, I just love your business. You do great business. Doesn't mean I'm going to do business with you. It just merely means I can't tell you that I hate you enough, you know, not to do business with you. So I'll smile in your face and tell the rest of my homeboys not to do business with you. You know, and so many times we want to legislate racism, or we want to try to figure it out, or we want to try to think, you know, what can I do to make you like me? And that's the problem that most of us have in our community, you know, and that adds to racism, believe it or not. Psychologically, you're adding to racism when you have to beg someone who hates you because of your race, the color of your skin, to like you. You're adding to. So in that, you know, most of the people in our community kind of help push that along.
Yeah, because you spoke about colorism, and you know there's a lot of that going on amongst us Black folks. I don't know why, but don't you think that if we practice this kind of prejudice and discrimination amongst ourselves, that also hinders us, especially when you're someone who's on the receiving end of that discrimination or that colorism or that prejudice, because you're too light skinned or too dark skinned.
Right.
I mean, that has to have some type of psychological effect on you. And if you're not strong enough to kind of, you know, hop over it, that can affect you throughout your life, because you'll just go through your whole life saying, oh, I'm too light skinned to do this, or I'm too dark skinned to do that. So that kind of discrimination also has effect on people, does it not?
It absolutely does. It says that I'm not good enough, or I'm too good, therefore I'm better than you. Right? So those things have a tendency to tear us apart. And then again, that adds to racism. And I'm going to tell you why. I heard a young white male, and he was talking about racism, and someone had asked him, well, why do you hate Black people? So his excuse was, well, look what you do to yourselves. You're animals. He said, I don't hate you. I'm just afraid of you. If you can kill yourselves and treat yourselves like that, then, my grandfather was right about you Black people, blah, blah, blah. So most of the time when we add to that, we add to it because they look at our behavior, and it's not all of us, but you know how the media is. They look at that and say, oh my goodness, then I should hate them. If they can kill each other like that, if they can hurt each other like that, then, so they make these excuses to be able to do that. Again, not our problem, but our problem is we do have a tendency to classism. And it's always been like that. This is not anything that has just started. This is not anything that, we just popped up in the early 2000s and decided to say, girl, you know what, you too dark. I'm light, I'm better than you. This didn't just start. This has always been like that. So what do we do in our own communities? Like I said, racism is not a problem, but colorism is. That's our issue. If we're going to tackle an issue, that's the issue that we should tackle. What do we do? What makes you feel this way about me? Why is that passed down? And now I live in a place, I live in the South. I live in Tennessee. And this was the very first time, Brother X, I was ever called paper bag brown. I had never been called that in my life. And I was called that by a Black man. I was in the store. And he said, look at you, paper bag brown, a lighter. And I said, what? Did you just call me paper bag brown?
Wow.
So I had to, I was thinking, are we still using these type terms to refer to each other? Then I'm walking past a high school. I hear another little girl say, look at you, Blackie. Look at you, darkie. Where are these terms coming from? This is our community.
Yeah.
This is not, the white folks coming down from up north into the neighborhood saying, you Blackie, you darkie, this, that. These are kids who hear these types of things. So we have a big issue because people will treat you the way you treat you. So here we have racism, which is very real. Then we have that other part where people say, well, if you don't care about you, why should we? The Chinese look at us and say, if you don't care, why should we care? You see what I'm saying? So that's what we really have to focus on, because I don't expect anyone who hates me to treat me well. I don't expect that. But I do expect if you look like me, you should have some respect for me.
Well, do you think, Doc, that with all the, because we know, living in this country that, of course, there's a lot of discrimination, towards Black folks, discrimination towards us. I mean, you hear people talk about, race relations have gotten better or racism is better. Like that really can happen, like some better racism. I don't believe it's gotten better. I don't believe it's gotten better. I think that we as Black people, we've gotten better at dealing with it. That's what I believe.
Yes, I certainly agree with that.
Yeah, I believe we've gotten better with dealing with it. So the racism and all that discrimination crap is still there. But what I want to ask you is that because of the racism and the discrimination, do you think that kind of, does that pile on us? Is it because of the climate, the racial climate that we live in, okay, as adults, right? But we're adults. We can deal with it. You said you walked by a school and, the kids were calling each other Blackie and stuff like that. Do you think because of the racial climate that their parents have endured, that either directly or indirectly, they might have passed these notions down to their children? Because I think a lot of times, because we always hear this saying, hurt people hurt people.
Yes.
So if we are a person who has bigotry and racism swirling in our mind all the time, are we more likely to be like, oh, you too light, you too dark?
Oh, absolutely. Oh, yeah. I mean, I've heard that myself. I mean, I've heard um, men and women say, when I was growing up, my grandmother favored my sister because she was lighter. You know, I've heard personally, people tell their children, don't stay out in the sun too long, you're going to get too dark. I'm like, what the hell is too dark? So yes, I've heard these things. I've seen these things. And how do you tell someone that what you're instilling in your children is really not appropriate? How do you share with someone that this may not be the best thing, because you'll give them low self-esteem, they'll begin to have a complex about themselves. And so it's this circle uh, of just detriment that is passed down. And like I said, I've heard it. I've heard men say, wow, the girls didn't like me because I was too dark. Then I've heard dark men say, I want to marry a light-skinned woman so my babies won't be black. Negro, you're black. Okay, you're not going to determine how your kids are going to come out just because you decide you want to try to pick and choose. And so this has to be passed down, because babies are born empty. No baby comes into the world saying, I wonder if I'm too dark. I wonder if I'm too light. They have to hear these things. And in turn, someone that's telling them these things, they have to in turn hear these things. So absolutely, these things are passed down to the detriment of the community, because it produces another generation where we got classism and colorism, operating against us in the community. We, and this classism thing, it's about, I'm better than you. Here we are, we live in the same neighborhood, but because you drive a Cadillac and I drive a Honda, you're better. But wait a minute, we live right next door to each other. So we have that working against us in our communities. And that's what we need to focus on. Everybody wants to focus on, let's get together and let's bring this, thing together about empowerment. Well, let's deal with the fact that if I think I'm better than you, I'm not going to unite with you. That's what it is. Let's just be real. And some people in our communities actually think that they're better than you. It's somebody that thinks they're better than I am. So until we can deal with classism and colorism in the community, we can't even talk about putting our finances together. Because if I don't like you, guess what that says? I don't trust you. You're not loyal. You're not on my level. Everyone is so quick to say that to each other. You're not on my level. But we live in the same project building. You just live on floor number 11 and I live on floor number 30. We live in the same.
I don't know.
You have to deal with that.
I don't know what it is. I've tried to figure these things. I've tried. I mean, I've tried to figure these things out. But I often come to the conclusion that, far as racism is concerned, how it affects us, I don't even think we're equipped to take on, especially when you talk about institutionalized racism, commercial racism, racism on a grand scale. I don't think that we're equipped to take that on until we kind of get some of that prejudice, weed out some of that prejudice amongst us first. Because
Right.
how are we going to fight other discrimination when we're sitting around discriminating between each other? That doesn't make any sense to me. I mean,
Right.
how the hell are we going to fight other people discriminating against us when we got a bunch of discriminatory stuff in our own group? I mean, what do we do about that, doctor?
Absolutely. You're absolutely right. Well, first, you can't do anything until you change your mind. And I tell people this all the time. You can change your mind at any point, any time, any day, any year. Just change your mind. And a lot of times, because we're so stubborn. We're just stuck right there. And we just say, I refuse. You know, it's always been like this. If it was good enough for my great grandpappy, it's good enough for me type stuff. No. If you want different results, you got to do something different. I know it sounds kind of cliche-ish, but that's just what it is. And until we can say, you know, I really want to change some stuff. You know, first, let me start with me. Let me start with me. And it's important to start with you, with your self-talk and what you say to yourself and about yourself. Because one, I don't care how many times I tell X, you're a wonderful person, you're great, we love you, man. If he doesn't believe it, it doesn't mean anything. It means absolutely nothing. If I can encourage you all day long and say, let's be better people, let's, you know, come together. It sounds good, and you get really hyped and excited because, you know, it's a great thing to say. But after all the words are gone, it's hollow. It's absolutely hollow. And we have to get to that place where we say, instead of me pointing a finger and saying, look, I want you to change, and you to change, I have to say, okay, let me change. Let me change my thinking. If I'm the one that's walking around telling folks they too black, let me stop saying that. Let me embrace blackness. I'm black. If I'm the one that's walking around saying I'm better than you because my job pays me, you know, $21 and you still making minimum wage. I mean, even that small thing causes division. That is something as small as that causes division. You can't come together and say, oh, I'm glad we're in this community and we both have jobs. No, we have to nitpick some things to say that makes me better. Oh, wait a minute, Dr.YaYa carries a Dooney and Burke and I carry a Michael Kors. What difference does it make? So we have to learn to stop nitpicking. And the reason why we nitpick is because psychologically, I have to do something to build myself up. And I've been taught that in order to build myself up, I have to tear somebody down. And who do you tear down? You're going to tear down the one that's closest to you. And that's the one who looks like you. I have never heard of a person, a black person living in an all-white community and talking to their white neighbor the way we talk to our black neighbors. That's just real. That's just real.
It's true.
Because in his mind, he feels like, oh, I'm equal. We're all equal together, right? But in the black neighborhood, you can't look around and say we're in this together and we're equal. You want to say, I'm better because of this material possession that I have. But we're going to have to learn to change that way of thinking.
Yep. My thing is, because where I live at, before I moved over here where I am now, I lived on the other side of town because I'm in the Queen City. Everybody knows that. And I was living on the northeast side. And the northeast side is, you know, it's like 65% black, like another 20 some odd percent Hispanic, and the rest is white folks. That's where I was at when I first came down here. First 2 years I was down here. And I opened up my shop the same year that I moved down here. And, you know, business was okay, but it wasn't supported by black folks, not really. Now, I've since moved where I'm at now. You know, I got a bigger house. I moved to a different part of town. Now it's the total opposite now. Now where I live at, it's more like 60, 65% white, like 20, 25% Asian, and it's Negroes and Hispanics. You know, that's what's left after that. And now that I'm over here, believe it or not, I have more black business now that I'm in a whiter area than I did when I was in a like 2/3 black area.
Right.
Now, I bring that up to say this, Doc. I think often racism has such a hold and grasp on our psyches that I think in some strange way we actually practice it on our own people. I often talk about how, you know, because I talk about my business when I'm on here a lot, And I talk about how the brothers won't come see me. You know, they'll go down the road and see the white man, even though the white man is 25% more expensive and probably not better than me, because a lot of them boys, I've been working on engines longer than they've been alive. So I say that because we have this thing about us where we think a certain way about each other, even when we're in business. You know, they won't come to the brother, all right, for whatever reason. Why? Because they are seeing you the way many white people see you. Now, I have a lot of white customers. I mean, the white folks is probably 60% of my business, all right? Probably 60% of my business, easy. But I know that there's white people out there who won't come to me just because I'm black. I know that, all right? So you have brothers who are doing the same thing. They won't come to me because I'm black, even though they are black. So when we are ruled by this colorism and this bigotry and this discrimination, it'll even cause you to make certain business decisions. It will cause you to make and in my opinion, detrimental decisions. Because if you go into them fools up the block and not me, you crazy, because I'm the best.
Right.
I'm the best.
I
So
understand that.
you going to them, you know, you're messing up. You know, that's a bad decision. And the crazy thing is, Doc, now often people come to my shop, okay, because I have 2 builders now, right?
Okay.
Now often people come to my business telling me that they took it somewhere else, right? They took it somewhere else first and they couldn't fix it. So now they bring it here. You know what has never happened at either one of my buildings, where someone has took something away from here that couldn't be fixed and had to take it to somewhere else.
Right.
But I get that kind of stuff all the time. I get that kind of stuff. And let me tell you something. I get stuff from big names, okay? And I'm going to put them on blast too. I get stuff coming here from John Deere. I get stuff coming to my shop from Husqvarna, Snapper, Toro. Now, these are Toro mechanics, big old Fortune 500 company. Snapper, John Deere, Husqvarna, Club Cadet. They all make their way.
That is
right
that's
to old X's shop. And I know some of my customers, I got a few of my customers that listen, they know I'm not lying. They know I'm not lying.
You know what? I not to cut you off, I want to say this. First, I want to say what Water Sniper in the chat said. He says, Dr. YaYa, many black people see other black people through the eyes of white people in society. I believe that. That's true. And that's exactly what you said. But I'm going to share something with you. There is a multi-million-dollar company, actually a multi-billion-dollar company, that is owned by a married black couple. But the face is a white man. Oh, I can't tell you. Oh, I wish I could. But so it happened. So I understand what you're saying. See, they couldn't make any headway when it was just those two, and they were working and doing things and getting the business off the ground. But as soon as they put the face of the white man in front of their companies start to grow. Now, I'm going to let you know, this white man has been on the cover of Fortune 500. He's spoken at many a place and given out a lot of information that they actually think this man is the head of this company. And I wish, oh my goodness, I wish, but I can't. But I'm just saying what you're saying, X, about.
Well, Doc, let me stop you there.
How people perceive black-owned business.
Okay, well, let me ask you this then, Doc.
Yes.
The people who own the company, you say they they splash a white man face on the front, right?
And they splashed this white man's face on the front for the past 20, 30 years.
So, in a sense, haven't they been ruled by racism? Now, it may be to the benefit to their company, right? Maybe their company, it caused their company to make way more millions of dollars.
I would say that they were affected because it altered what they had been doing the 10 years before when it was just them. So in society, when you see that, it's not like that, oh, things are going to magically change and we're going to live in utopia and everybody's going to be so happy. They played the game, and you can't blame them for playing the game. Now, this is what white supremacy has established. So since you've established this and you set these roadblocks, I'm going to play the game. These are your rules. So since you think that light and white is right, there you go. You can have it. You can have it. If you think that, you can have. I think that they just merely played the game. I think, and most of us that are not ruled by racism, we play the game. Now, whether you play it well or you get angry and you want to, go and shoot up the subway with white folks on it and get locked up, or whether you say, let me see how I can best deal with this to my advantage and to my benefit. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Absolutely nothing wrong with that.
So there is a difference between being ruled by racism and kind of, like playing the game, going along to get along, right? Now, some people would say that's cooning. You're being a Samba, or some people would say that. They would say that, you're going along, you're playing the game, you're cooning. Now, I don't believe that. I don't believe that.
Right.
But some people do.
Right. And you have to do, I say you have to do what's best for you. We make decisions in the moment. We make decisions most of the time in the moment. And anytime there's something that comes up and we say, how do we handle this? A decision has to be made. You can't say, that's just like being almost pregnant. I can't almost be pregnant. Either I'm pregnant or I'm not, and a decision has to be made. Okay. And so in these moments when we're dealing with things that we're facing, especially as a hindrance, I have to make a decision. So here we have this business that we've been putting our heart and soul into and our own money into for 10 years. Nobody's coming, not white folks, not too many black folks, not, people are just trickling in. But now if we we got this commercial and we let you think that the white man owns the car dealership, guess what? You're going to show up. Let's just be real. We're being real. We're not talking about this perfect world where everybody loves each other. We hold hands and kumbaya and, I'm a better person, therefore the world is a better place. No, we're just being real. I have to learn how to deal with these obstacles that have been placed before me. So if that means that my son has been coming on TV saying, you guys come on down to the car lot and we give you a great deal, and you guys are not feeling it, but y'all going across the street to the other car lot. Then when I bring Billy Bob on with his cowboy hat and his boots, and he tells y'all, come on down, Billy Bob's gonna give you a great deal, and everybody is now flocking to my car lot. But you couldn't do that when I told you it was a black family-owned business. But you see Billy Bob and you run, because just like Water Sniper said, most black people see other blacks and other businesses through the eyes of what society sees, of what, white society sees. So, and that's the truth, because look at the media. They tell us what beauty should be. They tell us how we should dress. They tell us what fashion should be. They tell us, how our hair should be, all of these things. And so you're just, soaking this in. People are in media and they're just watching this and they're looking at, oh, I want to be like this person. I want to be like that person. So it's really not. So how do I navigate? How do I make my bid? Because you said do that, right? Didn't you say that? Didn't you say black man, black woman, you can own your own business? Didn't you say that you can be an entrepreneur? You can do anything that you want to do? You said that. But you didn't tell the people that they had to support. You didn't tell the people, go out there and help your brothers and sisters in the neighborhood. You didn't say that. You didn't tell me, you told me how wonderful it'd be to own a business, but you didn't tell me that my own people wouldn't support me. Let's just be real. Because they're not. So I don't care what you call me as far as cooning and whatever. If I have a business. That means I am looking to make revenue and a profit. So if you don't want to come because you see my black son saying, come down and we'll give you a great deal, if it'll make you feel better about spending your money and think you're giving it to Billy Bob and his family, well, come on down. Come on down. Because I can only give you what you're willing to accept.
It's true.
I can only give you, and that's what you're willing to. It seems like that's what we're willing to accept. You know, if we think about frats and sororities, for a long time when they first started, they were only accepting light-skinned brothers and sisters. Come on. This has been this classism and colorism is what's in that's what's really hurting our community, not racism. We're used to that. I'm used to the white man hating me. That's nothing new. I know you don't like me, but we also don't have to sleep together. But I'm expecting that if I live around you, you should at least have some respect for me. You should at least want to encourage me and empower me. But that's not happening. Why? Because you're too busy looking at the other neighborhood thinking the grass is greener. And so now you know, I'm nothing to you because, you know, you view me how they view me. So you really can't be racist against me, but you can have some colorism. You can have some prejudice. You can have some bias. And you show it. And we don't understand that we show it every time we don't support one another. We show, I'm better than you. I don't trust you. If I think about the video, I saw this video of the black men protesting outside of the beauty salon. And the white women, I mean, and the black women were in a long line around the corner because this beauty supply store was having a sale. And they were actually getting on the black men saying, why are you protesting? We need our hair products. We need our what? So this is what it's come to. And then they turn around and say, the black man doesn't protect the black woman. What? that was so, I was so, you know, you can only give people what they're willing to accept, Brother X. And just because they look like you and sound like you doesn't mean that they're willing to accept you. And that's just real. That's real. So racism is not our problem. Colorism is our problem. Racism is the white man's problem. But colorism, because again, that's a heart issue. Just like racism is a heart issue and a mind issue, so is colorism. That's what it is.
Well, you know, I've often thought that maybe I should get me a Billy Bob and put him on the sign in front of the shops, but I haven't went. Well, see, I'm this type of dude like this, and everybody who works for me and anybody who's ever worked for me, they know all I hire is black people. I mean, I've never had a white dude work for me, or all I've ever hired is brothers. That's all I've ever hired. I mean, maybe I'm wrong for that. Maybe I'm the bigot, whatever you want to call me, but all the people that work for me now, all the people that I've ever had work for me have been brothers.
Right.
I had one white boy inquire not too long ago, and I didn't end up hiring him. I mean, he didn't have his driver's license or nothing anyway, so I couldn't really use him because I need somebody who can drive the truck and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, I don't know. I don't even know if I'd have gave him a shot if he did have his driver's license. I don't know if I would have. I don't know, because I'm like this. I have a business, so I want to look out for my brothers. I want my brothers, because I know the brothers are less likely to get a job than this white boy. I mean, that's just a fact. I mean, that's
right. That's right.
just real. So I'm willing to hire my brothers. You know, I take care of them before I take care of others. So, I mean, that's just who I am. I mean, if I'm going to hire people, they're going to be brothers. They're going to look like me.
Right.
Like I said, even though I service a lot of white companies, I mean, we are a black business. I mean, when our crew pull up, it's just a bunch of us black Negroes getting out the truck. That's all you see. That's all you're going to see. Okay, when you call me, expect the crew of Negroes to show up. So, I mean, that's kind of what it is. So, but I with my business, because I service people who own companies. I mean, 95% of my business is people who own their own businesses, whether it be landscaping, plumbing, uh, contractor, steel workers, grass cutters, roofers. These are the people I service. Okay. These are the people that I do work for, that I contract out with. And the crazy thing is, people that come to me and they get a good job and they get the work done fast, they actually seem surprised. And I'll tell you why. Because it's sort of like when they're talking about a black politician, you know, they say, oh, he's very articulate and well spoken, as if he's not supposed to be. Now, they say the same thing about me. They're like, oh, man, it's such an efficient job. Everything works the way it's supposed to. And I can't do nothing but kind of look kind of side-eyed it when they say that, because it's like, I mean, you're bringing it to a commercial repair place. You're bringing it to a person who, I mean, I've been
Uh-oh.
saying it because they're not used to that kind of service, or are they saying it because I'm a black power mechanic and they expect the job to be worse, subpar, unprofessional? I mean, you don't know what to think. Because see, I try not to let
because
yeah.
all they see, just like, not to cut you off, just like they see, the only thing that they see is what we all see. And that is what people place in the media. Black folks are lazy. You know, we hear the same old rhetoric. So we don't know what people are thinking. You're absolutely right. We don't know what white folks are thinking, and we don't know what black folks are thinking, because they all see the same thing. You know, so you don't know, if the compliment is because I'm really truly surprised because you are a black man, or the compliment is because, wow, your skill level is, the best I've seen out of whatever. You really, you really don't know. You really don't know. And that is quite difficult, because, and you also don't want to be the person who is ruled by racism by saying, did you just say that because I was black?
Yes,
You know what I'm saying? It's like,
that's what I'm saying. I mean, I don't want to fall into that rabbit hole where, I'm constantly thinking that people are saying, this, that, or the other thing just because I'm black, because now I'm letting racism rule me, because I'm thinking every time a white person says something, I think they're saying it because I'm black. Right. You know what I'm saying? So I try not to let myself be ruled by racism like that, and like I was telling everybody at the top of the hour, I mean, I grew up in probably one of the most prejudiced places of all when I was a kid. I mean, I went to these schools. I lived in these towns where you would walk up the street and white people would cross the street. When you cross the street, you hear doors locking. When you go into a store, all the women in there grab their purse. I grew up in that.
Right,
so
right.
I'm no stranger to bigotry, discrimination, and bias. I mean, far from it. I lived through it my whole young life before I went off to college, because of the area that I lived in. I mean, it was super, super prejudice, all white police force, all white government, all white hospitals, all white people working in school. I didn't see one black teacher until I went to college.
Wow.
When I went to college and I saw a black professor, I was like, I was kind of stunned. I was like, damn, black people are teachers? Because I didn't see one black teacher as I was going to school. So I'm well aware of the discrimination and bigotry and stuff. I grew up with it, but I try not to let it, rule me, man. I don't want every thinking moment or every interaction that I have with a person, and they don't necessarily have to be white. They could be Asian. They could be
right.
Hispanic, I don't want every interaction and everything I do, good, bad, or indifferent. I don't want to automatically say, oh, they just doing it because I'm black. Because I hear that so much from people that are within my social circles. You know, everything is, oh, it's because I'm black. Oh, it's because I'm black. You know, you get tired of hearing that crap. Man. You
Right.
just like, come on, man.
So,
Maybe I don't know.
if it is, say if it is, then what are you going to do? You can't stop being black.
Exactly.
And you can't stop the person from hating you. Like I stated earlier, you can't legislate morality. You can't say, you know, if you don't stop hating black people, you know, you're gonna get a spanking. You know, you can't say that. I mean, you can fake the funk. I mean, children do it all the time. Children like, I hate vegetables, so I'm gonna hide them. I'm gonna put them anywhere I need. You know, when you dislike something, you just dislike it. So it's not like you can make someone like who you are. So even if it is because you're black, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Are you going to maneuver around? Are you going to do what you have to do because you understand that there's some things that may hinder you? Or are you just going to sit in front of your obstacle and say, it's because I'm black. It's because I'm black. And you not get up and do something? I mean, you have to do something. You're either going to live or you're going to die. But either way, you're going to do it while you're black.
There's no changing that.
Okay?
No changing it.
Don't, if you let it rule you, if you say, you know, I'm just going to sit down and be angry about it, or I'm just going to just talk about it a lot, you know, do a lot of talking, you know, preach to the choir to other black people who have been, you know, racially hurt and affected, because that's what we've been doing. That's what we've been doing. You know, let you know, you at RA, you know, Racism Anonymous, and you raising your hand like, you know, hi, my name is YaYa, and I was racially profiled, and everybody's like, welcome, Dr. YaYa. So are we, you know, and then you but what are you gonna do until you make up in your mind that I'm gonna get up, dust myself off, and I recognize this roadblock, so let me see how I can go around it. That's the only way it doesn't rule you. It is going to affect you, but you cannot let it rule you. That means you can't put all of your emotions and your habits and, you know, what you decide to do next. You can't put that all in that basket.
It's true.
Because you're gonna get you're gonna get kidney stones, a hernia, heart failure, you know, high blood pressure. We just can't be those types of people to do that. Yeah. We can't. We can't. We have to do more than just complain, because you can't change the heart of a person. So you have to do something. You can't change who you are. I don't care how much bleaching cream you use. No disrespect to y'all cake soap users. But you can't. You can't. I know what you're calling it. I know what you getting rid of your blemishes. I know, baby. But you can't change it. You can't change it. So that means that you're gonna have to use some tools. You're gonna have to do something to say, it's there, now what?
Like you always talk about, we have to change our minds, you know. Yeah. I mean,
you have to change your mind. You have to get up one day and say, I refuse to let this rule me. I refuse to let this affect me in the way that I'm paralyzed. You just can't be paralyzed. You have to do something.
True.
You have to do something. Like I said, you can't change the heart of a person who hates you, and you certainly can't change your skin color. You can't change what you are.
It's true.
And I don't care who you marry. I don't care how many white folks you got in your family. I don't care how many light-skinned folks you got in your family. You are who you are. And we like to, I don't care how much money you make, you still a Negro with a lot of money. It does not matter what you do if you are hated. And we don't get that. Just like OJ. Oh, I'm not black, I'm OJ. No, Negro, you black. Yeah. You found that out. And so
Oh
a
yeah.
lot of times people think that. They think if I work real hard and come up out the ghetto, then my life would change. Yes, you can get a bigger house and a bigger car, but you still a Negro.
Oh yeah.
You're still going to be hated. So now what? And so when people begin to experience that, they're like, what? Wait a minute. I thought if I had the money, I could be just like you. Look, man, if you hate it, you're hated. Look, woman, if they dislike you to the core of who you are, that's what it is.
Yeah.
So you deal with that. And you jumping up, cursing them out is not going to change them. You jumping up, wanting to have a meeting and marching is not going to change them
Nope.
at all. And we think that we can sit around and have a few snacks and, eat some lunch and talk about, how we going to deal with the white man. How, you tell me, because he still hates you.
It's
Let's
true.
talk about how you deal with you while this hate is going on. You trying to deal with him. Let's deal with you because he going to still hate you. And I don't think that we say that enough. I don't think that mirror comes up enough to say, I'm hated. And that's not going to change. So I have to.
Well, I think it's a myth from time to time that floats around out there, thinking that somehow we're going to change white folks. Um, Greater men than me have tried. Greater men with greater followings and more support and everything else have tried to change white folks. And here we are. So I don't believe there's no way we're going to change white folks or change how white folks think, especially white folks who do not have any use for black folks.
Absolutely.
So that makes me turn right back to us, meaning we have to change how we think. We have to change us because see, the white folks are going to do what white folks do. What
Exactly.
what we need to be worried about is what the hell are we going to do?
Right. Exactly. That's it.
What
That's
the hell are we going to do? And we got Dr.YaYa up here live, y'all. And if you're feeling generous, drop a few coins in that bucket right there. See right there with that looks like it's been swiped with a yellow highlighter. All right. And
yeah.
hit
Not to cut you off, Sister Linda Anderson says in the chat, self-change is the best change. Absolutely.
exactly.
Absolutely. It really is.
And I need some likes up in this section too. While you're at it, it's greatly appreciated. Coins in the bucket, likes in this section. Thank you very
Perfect
much.
combination.
Thank you very much.
We appreciate
But
it. The solution to the or what they deem was a solution, because we agree that you can't change when someone hates you. You can only change yourself. So the solution to that prior to us getting here was to integrate. If they don't like us, let us be like them. That did not work. And it doesn't work because, again, you cannot change the heart of a person by trying to work on the outside. Just like laws. They're like, let's put these laws in place. Let's get these laws to change. Again, you cannot legislate morality. The only thing that you can do is maneuver through to get to where you have to go. But the solution was, okay, let's just integrate then. Let's just integrate. But guess what? Integration meant that we have to go by the white man's standard. We have to go by his standard of beauty. We have to go by his standard of health care. We have to go by his standard of everything else. So I'm not really equal. I'm just being measured by another man's yardstick. That's not equality. Integration just said you're going to be judged, determined, assessed good based on the yardstick that we have. for you black folk. And
Well,
so here we are still scratching to get to a place to get there. And then when you get there, you find out that there is really nowhere because you're still hated.
well, let me ask you this, Doc. They say the higher you are, the less bigotry. They say it's more bigotry down low. You know, the lower the economics, the more bigotry. The higher you are, the less bigotry. So I'll ask you, as a professional PhD, when you were, or should I say, as you are now, you know, in your travels, doing your psychology work and anthropology work, do you encounter uh, bigotry, racism on a regular basis, or is it just kind of here and there?
Uh, Bigotry is bigotry. I don't care where you are, what social standing you have. I don't care what house you live in. Okay, it is still bigotry. The only difference is that if they can do business with you and get more money, see, it's all about getting more out of you. See, that's what we don't realize. If I can get more out of you, then I can kind of stay in the closet and remain a little subtle and, you know, only call you a monkey around the family and not really to your face, you know, because I may need you to do something or, you know, stuff like that. So that one hand washes the other as you go higher, but it is still the same thing. You know, it is still, and I have experienced it. Oh, so you're Dr.YaYa. Yes, you know, I'm Dr.YaYa. You know, women can be doctors. Black women can be doctors. You know, so you get that a lot. You know, oh no, I didn't mean it like that. I know exactly what you meant, but we're gonna keep pushing. So it's wherever it is. I mean, it's sort of like if you ask Oprah when they told her about that handbag many years ago, you know, when she was in that Swiss store and she was looking at a handbag and they told her this is the wrong place for you because you can't afford the bag. I mean, so it is what it is. You know, it doesn't matter. It's about if I hate you again, I hate you. I don't care how much money you have, you know. I mean, look at LeBron. They scribbled the N word on his car, on his house. I mean, they don't care. Hate is hate, you know. And they hate you even more so because they figure you an uppity nigga now. That's what it is. Now you just uppity. So you know you're at this place where you think you've made it. You haven't made it anywhere. You just got more money and you the same N word. That's all. So yes, I've certainly have experienced it. You know, some colleagues. I mean, we all have. I mean, think about in Florida, the attorney general getting pulled over, right? Because your license plates say that you're official, but I see a black woman driving a car, so that doesn't make me official, right? So I mean, these things happen. That's what it is. It doesn't matter where you are, how much education you have, you know, how often you fly first class. If you are hated, you are hated. And that's just how it goes. That's how it goes. A water sniper had a question.
Yeah, y'all feel free to fire some questions at the doc. Decent questions. Anything stupid, my mods will show you the door if you say something ridiculous, because that's what they're trained to do. So if you wanna shoot the doc some questions, you know she's willing to answer some. Don't be asking no deep psychological questions, because I'm gonna have to put her PayPal information into the chat, because that's
Talk to me. A girl's guy, I gotta eat, y'all. Gotta eat.
That's gonna cost you. But you can ask some I guess basic questions. Just don't try to get into the deep psychological stuff.
All right.
But
much love, Ron Redbird.
She does get paid by the hour. So I mean, let's stay away from those. But you feel free to I start to turn the phone lines on, but I didn't know how many people was gonna be here. You know, like right now we got like 13, 14 people in here right now. I didn't expect any more than 10. So I didn't turn on the phone lines or nothing like that. But if y'all want me to turn them on, I will. If I get enough people saying they want the phone lines on, I will. Because I know only got the doc for maybe like another hour or so, but I will turn the phone lines on if requested. So feel free to shoot the doc some questions,
Okay.
just to
Water
kind of,
Sniper says, Dr. Yaya, do you think that the black women and black men need to reinvent ourselves, the way we literally think, dress, and eat, and overall reinvention to progress into the future? I would say that we need to change the way that we think, and we need to change the way that we think, especially towards each other. That's more important. Change the way we think towards each other as pertains to what we stated earlier, classism and colorism, because you can't do a thing about racism. That's going to be there. Okay. And it makes no sense for you to be, angry about it and puffing out your chest. Racism is a white people issue. So we need to change the way we deal with each other, period. People's, I don't care how you deal with someone who hates you, you're still hated. We've heard that time and time again. Well, if you don't wear a hoodie, well, guess what? The teacher still got shot. He had on a tie. So let's just be real. So if we're dealing with change, it has to be within ourselves and how we treat one another. So in that regard, that's the only way we're going to progress, is if we change how we think about each other, not how we think about them, because they're certainly not going to change how they think about us. They haven't. Look how long it's been. It's not going to happen. They pass those thoughts down generation to generation. We have to change what we do with each other. That's vitally important. That's the main thing that's important. So to progress, we have to change what we think about each other.
I agree. We can't change. I don't, like I said before, I don't believe that we can, change the way other people think about us. But I mean, we can change how we interact with one another. I mean, we can change that tomorrow.
Exactly. Anytime. We can change that tonight.
Yeah, we can change that right now. So I mean, that's where we have to start. I mean, we have to clean up our own damn backyard before we venture out into the street, and start cleaning up the streets.
Right.
Don't make no sense to be walking up and down the road picking up garbage and the back of your house is like a dump. So it's like, it doesn't make any sense. And I think that's where that's kind of where we go wrong. Because we have people who do, claim to fight racism and claim to fight white supremacy. But I have to be honest. I mean, I don't see it. I don't see where they're winning this fight. I think that the fight is futile, and I think that the direction of the fight that they claim is pointed towards the white power structure. I think that fight need to be redirected and fought within our own society. That's what I believe.
I agree with that.
Because with all the people that you hear, always talking about how they fighting against white supremacy, how they fighting against the white power structure, and this, that, and the other thing. Well, why I don't see no damn difference? The differences I see is when I go and see my man in New York, Q Butter. Okay. The things that I see that man do, that's difference that I can see and hear and touch. Okay. Absolutely. I can touch his change, see it, hear it for myself. The change that these people are talking about taking place, I don't see it. I don't hear it. Damn sure can't touch it because they're only talking about it on here. So that's where I think we make the mistake at. And I think that we have fell victim to our own obsession with racism and discrimination. Because a lot of us are obsessed with it. We're obsessed with racism. And I think that obsession causes us to misdirect our energies. And I think we should be directing that energy, more along the lines with us, as opposed to, claiming to stand up against the white power structure, but
absolutely. How do you, that's the thing. How do you fight this white supremacy when someone thinks that they're supreme? Again, these are their own thoughts. You can't change the heart of a man. I remember there was a story out about a white supremacist marrying a black woman. And she had said, well, I needed a bodyguard. Give you the gist of it. I needed a bodyguard because I was being harassed by an ex. And so he applied, and he let me know that he didn't really, this was about business, and he really didn't care for me. And, that's all it was, because I was paying, blah, blah, blah. So needless to say, oh, we fell in love. So to get to my point, so the only way that I can change the heart of a white man is to have sex with him. If that's the case, they should have been changed their minds since slavery, since they was having sex with all these black women. If that's all it takes. So she felt that she had scored one against white supremacy, because at least one changed their heart and got out of being, in the Aryan nation. What? You can't actually believe that. You can't believe that, because any argument you get into that's too heated, he gonna jump up. Well, they're not ready for that.
No.
He gonna jump up and call you the N-word, and then apologize. Babe, I didn't mean it. But you already know what he was. You know what he was. So
in a situation like that, I would have to doubt that he did much changing at all. She probably did some changing to kind of acclimate to be with, white daddy, if you will. That's a whole nother show. That's a whole nother show. Yeah. I mean, we have to see, this is my main problem, doctor. When people like myself, I include my black ass in it too, we get up on here and we talk. Okay. We get up here and we run our mouths about all this kind of nonsense, thinking, because none of us, you're like one of the few people that I deal with on the internet that's actually degreed in something. But we all get up here and we talk like we got 50 degrees. We have a degree in life. We have a degree in psychology. We have a degree in medicine. We have a degree in sociology. We got all these degrees, all of us. And we sit up here and we pump this white supremacy stuff, and we give you all these pathologies and ideologies about how things should be. But we walk outside of our door, and all of the stuff that we claim we know, all of the stuff that we pathologize about, we have not affected none of this shit. And I mean none of it outside our door. Shoot, a lot of us, we haven't even fixed it inside. We haven't even fixed what's going on in our own four walls. But we're giving you these lessons about racism and about the white man, and how the white man did this and you need to do that. You need to do this and you need to do that. But I say again, I walk out my door, I don't see nothing that these people are doing. I don't see no change in none of this stuff. I'm still seeing people get killed by police. I'm still seeing black women get killed by white supremacists. I'm still seeing black kids getting the police called on them for selling water and lemonade and so on and so forth. I could just keep going on and on and on. So if so much is being done by these people who are obsessed with the white man and obsessed with racism, why am I not seeing any change? Do I have to come to your city to see it? Do I have to come to your block to see it? I think we get a little disillusioned that time. This media shit, it's a sickness. I'm gonna be talking about that soon too. The old media sickness. That video is in the midst, people. I think we have this sickness with media. And I think media has caused many of us to think that we have way more influence than we really have, because we got a mic, a computer, and a camera and an audience. It automatically makes us a psychologist. It makes us a sociologist, a freaking teacher, a counselor, a doctor, a relationship expert, and all this kind of crap. Yeah, all this kind of crap, and it's really, really, it's really, really disturbing, because that 90% of the people on YouTube are not any of those things. They're
Right.
just not. Because the people who really are those things, they're not on YouTube. Yeah, because they're off practicing psychology. They're off practicing sociology. They're off practicing science. They're off being a professor in a university. That's
Right.
why they're not on YouTube. Okay,
Right.
so I think we kind of get it mixed up, man. I think we, I don't know. Well, I'm gonna talk about it. I don't want to get too much into it because I got a video that's in the process.
Oh, okay. Well, I can't
But,
wait to see it. I can't. I'm looking
but
forward to it.
yeah. Something that me and teacher Tanisha put together.
Oh,
So let me ask you this, Doc. I know I hit you with a lot of questions when you come on here, but do you ever see a time where, because like I said earlier, I don't think racism and bigotry has gotten any better. I think Black people, we've just gotten better at dealing with it.
right.
Do you ever see a time, Doc, when we as Black folks will have an even better handle on this bigotry stuff than we do right now? Because I think we've kind of, we were right here and then we just kind of plateaued. I think we plateaued about right here at 2000, and I don't think we've left. We right there. Are we ever going to get back on that upswing with dealing with racism better? In your view?
I think that we are, and the reason why I say that, and you're right, I agree that we plateaued, but I think we are because this next generation, they're not going. They're they're just like, give us liberty or give us death, for real. They're just at this place where we're like, tell me how it's going to be. Give it to me straight. I don't want you to put any sugar on it. I don't want you to water it down. I just need you to give it to me so I can deal with it accordingly. And let me handle what I handle. So I think it's going to come. It's not going to come with the same old rhetoric that we've been so used to hearing for the past 20 or 30 years, but it's going to come with some fresh thoughts. It's going to come with a new mind. It's going to come with new tools, new ways, new strategies, new methods. So I think at this plateau, it's a build up. I really do. I think it's a build up, and I think it's going to get better. I do. I think it's going to get better how we deal with it. Okay. Now, them other folks, no, because that's just there. It would have gotten better for at some point. Let me tell you, at some point, when the generation before us decided that integration was good, since they hate us, let's try to be like them, maybe they'll like us. We know that doesn't work. Since they decided that, the only change that the white man has done was tolerate your black tail. Didn't mean he liked you, didn't mean anything changed. It means that I tolerate you because I can't openly kill you the way I could before. Before I could openly kill you, get a jury of my peers, and they'll send my white tail home. But now I gotta tolerate you a little bit. And every now and then we'll send some of y'all home just to, make us feel better about not losing our power. And some of y'all will lock up. But don't worry, you won't get too much time. Some of you get a slap on the wrist. Why? Because we tolerate them. So we want to try to appease them just a little bit. And so now we have our people thinking, oh, he really likes me. He's hearing my voice. When I stand up with my flag and I declare some things, they're going to listen to me. Not so. Not so. And so the focus has been on, how do we get them to like us instead of us? How do we start liking each other? That should have been, as soon as integration came in, it should have been, woo, y'all, we got to start. We got to get closer than ever because we got to deal with these people. And we know what they do. We know what they're capable of. They're not dead. When we signed this, civil rights bill, the Ku Klux Klan didn't just fall off the earth. We got to get tight enough because now we really got to deal with these people. But it didn't happen. What happened was a huge celebration. Some balloons were sent up, some confetti was dropped, and it was a wrap. That was it. Nothing was gained, nothing. So now we're here. Now we're at this place where, well, I don't like you, and and there are no good black men around, and the black man don't protect the black woman, and we need to be feminists, and then the black man, we all these bees, and so that's what integration did for us. Integration just disbanded whatever unity we had in our communities, because we wanted to be. Integration said, be like them. They hold the standard. So before, when I had my Black Power afro, I went and got me a silken press, because Blonde Becky's hair is straight. And so since she has the standard of beauty, I'm ashamed of my big butt, but I'm gonna get me some big breasts. So all of these changes came about because of that standard, because this is who now we can be like them now. And if we act like them, and if we talk like them, and if we dress like them, they'll like me. But you still a hated Negro who's just dressing like the white man next door.
Well, we talking about the being ruled by racism. Black people, it's ironic that Black people actually had a better family structure.
Mm-hmm.
We had our own things, our own societies, when prejudice and racism had more of a rule over us. If you go back 50, 60, 70 years when racism literally ruled black folks did better when it actually ruled black folks. And now that black folks have a tad more liberty and freedom and have learned to deal with racism and bigotry better, it seems like a lot of us are being ruled by it, but we're being ruled by it mentally, as opposed to, if you go back 67 years ago, we were being ruled more structurally. It was more institutional ruling, as opposed to being ruled, mentally.
Right.
Because there's a difference.
Right. Now it's ruling our feelings, our habits, our impulses, our thoughts, all of those things. And I think that's far worse. If you're gonna control me, I'd rather you can control me physically. That way I can fight. You know what I mean? But if you can control me mentally and emotionally and psychologically, I can't really fight, because my mind doesn't know what to fight against. At least if you try to subdue me physically, I know where I can hit with my hand, where I can kick with my foot. You know what I'm saying? And what to hit. But in my mind, it is difficult to try to battle you and with my thoughts, and then build myself up at the same time with my thoughts. That's a difficult task. Not so difficult if you try to handle me physically, because then I see my target. But now when you're dealing with, now you're controlling my habits. I don't know whether this is right or wrong. I don't know whether this is acceptable or not. I don't know if you're ruling me based on this, that, or the other. So your mind is always going. And then you don't even know if your thoughts are your own. You can't even determine if you have your own thoughts. You can't even say, man, did I think that, or do I just want to think that? Will it be better for me to think that? And as with anything else, our mind, just like the body, goes into survival mode as well, as it pertains to thoughts and making sure you don't have a nervous breakdown. So if you give me images, if you say, oh yes, Integrate. It's a wonderful thing. We can't outright kick in your door anymore. Any of that will hold up on some of these Jim Crow laws. Not all of them, but just a few of them. So we'll take you from the chains and give you mass incarceration, but we won't beat you with the whips anymore. We'll change a few things. We'll take a few tools out that oppress you, but we're not going to stop oppressing you. We just going to change the game. Since you guys decided to integrate, we're going to change the game. And so that's what they did. So now with that, I'm going to give you images of what our standard of beauty is, fashion, how you should live, the American dream of buying a home, and all of those wonderful things. Even though we won't give you a loan, we'll sell you the dream. I mean, just all of these things. But now I have your mind. And that's better than me having your body, because if I just shackle your body, your mind can wander off and be free and grow, and you get creative, and then you might find a way out of your chains. But if I have your mind won't be readily available to try to figure out how to get out of these chains.
That's true. Well, let me ask you this, Doc. Do you believe that a lot of us, we fall victim to racism and white supremacy and discrimination? We fall into it second and third hand. And I'll tell you what I mean. We feel that the white man has his foot on our throat, not because he really has his foot on our throat, but because someone has told us that the white man has his foot on our throat. Do you feel that a lot of us have fell into that thing where we're not really feeling the effects of the quote unquote racism that we speak about, but we talk about it as if we do because we've heard it from others? Do you think there's a significant amount of us who go through that?
Oh, absolutely. I would say there's about 30% of us who certainly go through that. Because if you cannot help but to hear or be affected by stories of injustice, especially to people who look like you, that have experienced all types of injustice. You get angry, you get upset, and that's why and you feel some type of way, because you think, hell, if they did then, they can do it now. What makes me any different? Which is true, which is so true. But when you begin to linger there, when you begin to how can I say, take on the persona that you were actually in that place during that time, then yeah, it affects you very strongly. And you start to you start to govern yourself based on those past issues, instead of saying, okay, now what can I do? My main question, like you talked about, what are you doing to fight white supremacy? We hear all of these things, but we don't see anything happening. We actually don't see what you're doing, and we have to bring that to our own community. I certainly agree with that. I agree with that. You can't do anything, but you can do something with your people and among your people. You can, it won't hurt. And this is something that when I was growing up, I would see, but I don't see it anymore. There was a time that if my father was cutting the grass and our neighbor's grass was high and needed to be cut, he'd cut it. He'd cut it. And he didn't go over there and say, I cut your grass, kick in. None of that. He just cut it, came in the house, and it was what it was. No one said anything. They just knew the grass was cut. Okay? We don't do that anymore. There's no common decency and consideration for your own people anymore. You're more kind to the white man, the Asian man, the other man, than you are to your own people. And now is the time we're gonna fight racism. We can't fight the white man. Our fight is with us. We have to fight those things that are keeping us from being together and coming together. We have to fight that. Why is it every time you see a kerfuffle between two black women, you want to break out your phone and record it and upload it? That's the fight. That's what we have to fight against, that impulse to show us in a certain light. We have to fight the fact that there are 20 people watching two black people fight each other, and not one person is saying, we don't need to do this, y'all. That's the real fight.
Yeah, well, you'll have people who say that that's that way because of white supremacy. People will say that. I mean, I've heard it. Okay, in these media circles,
That's that way because you can't
everything
control your emotions. That's what that is. You can't control your emotions, and every time somebody says something to you, you want to jump up and be angry, and you want to fight. And even if it was because of white supremacy, even if it was, you can't say, look, y'all, we can't let that affect us anymore. You can't change your mind to say, I'm tired of us fighting each other. Is anybody sick and tired? We're sick and tired of everything else, but we're not sick and tired of that. I'm sick and tired of, kids not being able to walk down the street without getting harassed. Somebody ought to get tired. At some point, somebody ought to get tired. And so for me, that's why I go to the Black community and I talk about the mind, because they don't like to talk about that. They don't want to change their mind. They don't want to see their vulnerabilities. They don't want to discuss anything that has to do with therapy. So I can't even call it therapy anymore. I have to call it guidance. Let me give you a little guidance, because as soon as you bring that up, they start thinking, well, I'm not insane, I'm not crazy, I'm not, and we don't want to talk about it, hold a lot of secrets in the community. And there are a lot of things that are causing us to be who we are. So the next question is, okay, so your Uncle Jimmy molesting your sister was white supremacy, and that's why she's doing what she's doing? Oh, no, I know. It was white supremacy that caused your dad to jump on your mama, and that's why she's self-medicating with crack. Oh, no, I know. It was white supremacy that caused you to stab your grandmama and rob her. See, let's just be real.
Preach, Doc, preach.
There are some other things that we have to discuss. An uncolonized mind says a damaged culture. Absolutely. Let's discuss those things. Let's discuss why you're self-medicating. Let's discuss every time you come home from work, you got to get a 12-pack just so you can fall asleep. Because you can't even close your eyes without, seeing some stuff. Was that white supremacy that did that? Or was the white man that did that too? Let's just deal with our issues. There are people that hate you, like I've been stating. People that hate you will hate you. You already know you're hated. Now what? Now what? You're hated. You can't change the heart of a man. You're hated. We got that. Let's deal with the issues in our households, in our communities, within ourselves. Let's deal with that. Let's deal with the fact that, you're afraid of the dark and you're a 50-year-old man. Let's do, what? I'm not.
Are we?
I'm not doing.
Do we overuse the white supremacy thing, Doc? I mean, we, like you said, you gave these scenarios, and a lot of people will attribute it to white supremacy. I'm a believer that a lot of times we use this white supremacy thing that we claim to be fighting. I think we use that as an excuse not to fight the real fight. We throw around the white supremacy thing, and that kind of gets us off the hook, because see, once you say white supremacy, you have you have 30 seconds of solidarity amongst us Negroes. You could go anywhere in the middle of a bunch of Negroes and just yell out white supremacy, whether it be a church, a school, a nightclub, or the department store. If you yell out white supremacy, you have every black person's attention now. Okay. So I think that we often use that white supremacy thing. And I say again, I know it exists.
Right.
I just think we have a tendency to overuse the term, and I believe that a lot of us use that term a lot just so we can have some type of cover. You know, we can have some cover for when we don't do a damn thing for black people. Because see,
Right.
what we're doing for black people is fighting white supremacy. That's what we're doing for black people. And I believe that a lot of us have that, man. We got this complex. We so obsessed, you know, or appear to be obsessed with white supremacy, white folks, a white power structure. But I'm a true believer that the only way to fight the white power structure is to do shit for black people. I mean, that's why I only hire black people.
That's what I say too.
I'm not going to sit around and tell a white man how awful he is. You know, I'm not going to shout from the rooftops and tell a white man how much of a racist he is, how much of a bigot he is, how prejudiced he is. What good is that doing me? What good is it doing other people? That's why when I say I only hire brothers, because see, that's my way of looking out for my brothers, and hopefully I'm helping another brother not be victim of, you know, the big white supremacy boogeyman. I mean, that's just my point of view. Now,
Right.
everybody has a right to believe what they believe, but I think that oftentimes we throw these terms around too much, just like we throw around coon and all this kind of I mean, we overuse these terms, man.
Yes,
And a
we do.
lot of us use these damn terms for excuses.
Right. I agree with that. I can certainly see that. Again, so the real question is, like you said, we know it exists. We know that it is there. So now what? Do we just continue to talk about it? Do we just continue to make these brilliant and profound quotes about it? Or do we actually do something about it? You know, like I said, we ought to have some RA meetings. Okay. Racism Anonymous. You know, hey, I was affected by racism, you know, white supremacy, you know, what should I do? You know, we got to have some type of meeting, because you're going to have to change your mind.
Yeah.
You're going to have to change your mind. I mean, that is just, and
Do
a
we
lot
have
of
to have
people, like you
do
said,
we
that's
have to have the white supremacy round table, doctor? Do we have
we're
to
going
have
to
the
have.
white
We
supremacy
got to
round
have.
table?
We got to have a round table. We really do. We have to have the white supremacy round table, so we can actually get the question out there. So you're hated. White people hate you. What are you going to do about it? And that's where people actually have to turn the mirror on and say, huh, because you can't change them. I've never known somebody that really hated you and disliked you to turn around and say, you know, I love you. No, you watch him.
Yeah.
That's the one you watch. You've been hating me all these years. You don't want any good for me. You've been trying to hurt me. Now all of a sudden you love, no, I have my eye on you, ninja. Okay, no, you don't. We don't do it like that. Okay, you know, that's not how we play.
They've changed their mind.
Okay,
They don't
so
dislike you anymore.
okay, so no, you have an ulterior motive. So for us to know that you are hated, so what's next? Do you just continue to sit around and talk about how hated you are? Do you keep telling the story about how they pulled you over in your Mercedes and had their guns drawn on you? I mean, what now? What do you do now? Are you going to continue to march with people who really don't care? They're really not marching for you. They're marching because either they have this nonprofit they're trying to get off the ground. They want to put their face out there because they're going to run for public office later on. I mean, let's just be real. This is why people march. Because again, any person that is a critical thinker and of sound intelligence knows that you cannot change the heart of a person. So why am I marching? I'm marching for what? To keep you from shooting the next person. They're still getting shot. I'm marching because, uh, you know, holding up a sign saying, you know, my black is beautiful. What is that doing for you? Absolutely nothing. But it's making me feel good. It's making me feel wonderful about who I am. But I'm not really changing anything. So like you said, if there's going to be any change, let's see it. Can my senses be exposed to the change that you're making? Like you said about Brother Q Butter, you know, We can see it. We can hear it. We can touch it. These are just not hollow words.
Yep.
You know, what can we do? We see it with you. You employ the Black men in the community. That's helping. That's building up their esteem. And when you build their esteem, they go back and build their families. That's helping. But just sitting around talking about it and not really putting forth an effort in your own community to say, this is what it is. When our sons were younger, we told them early on, you are an endangered species and you are absolutely hated. So now with that type of knowledge, let's get to cracking on this knowledge.
Exactly.
Now what? You can't go out there. I don't care how many times you bake cupcakes and you say, I'm gonna go over there. You know, that clan over there, they're having a protest on the city steps and I'm gonna bring them cupcakes. Okay, Mama Mamie, you take them to cupcakes. The only thing that's gonna happen is they're gonna take those cupcakes and either get full or throw them back in your face.
Exactly.
So you wasted some sugar,
hate
flour, eggs, milk, and everything else that could have been given to the community. You want to wait, you want to go show them love. And I've noticed that, you know, I don't want to show you love. I want to show my people love. Why am I showing you love? But see, it goes back to how people are trained up and what they pass down. I've heard this a lot. I've heard people say to their children, you know, you got to love your enemy, and you know, you love people who misuse you and abuse you. What? I know. What about me loving myself? If I love myself enough, I know how to deal with you and not deal with you at all. But my love is not for my enemy. My love is for my people. And we have kind of just switched that thing around. Oh, I'm so in love with the white man. I'm so in love. I can love him and he'll change his heart while you hating on your brother and your sister. We can't do that. The only way to deal with white supremacy is to build your own community.
Exactly. Well, you know, Doc, a lot of us, and I say this a lot, and everybody know what I'm going to say who follow me. Some of us just love white folks. I mean, I'm a true believer that some of us, we just love white people. We just love them to death. We can't get enough. We can't get enough of them.
Right. Okay.
We can't get enough of them.
And dark barks, okay? White is right.
Yeah. We can't get enough of them, and we will always treat them better than we treat our brothers and sisters. Yeah, we'll always treat them better, you know, because we respect them more. You know, we see them as more human than we see each other.
We'll even buy out the whole store or the Asian and slap and dump on the black woman.
Yeah.
We need that stuff, honey. We got to have it.
Well, you know, we may not like Asians as much as we like white folks, but we definitely like them more than we like other Negroes.
Absolutely. They second best.
Yeah, we definitely we love them too now.
Okay, because they do nails and the eyelashes and
sending their kids to universities off of our money.
Absolutely. There you go.
And then they'll whoop your asses with some sticks right on up.
I know, right? Then we got this new
$5.
Got this new wave of black women who are saying, you need to go outside, date outside the race. You need to be with the white man. Well, I'm like, where these new black women come from? They gotta be new. These some new black women, because not the black women I know are not acting like this. So they gotta be new. And they're all over the place.
Well, a lot of them, you know, it's let me go ahead and say what I think. I think that a lot of black women would be with white men if they could. Some of them just can't, for whatever reason.
We know the reason, because in order for you to desire someone or someone to be your preference, they have to also desire you.
Exactly.
And if they
So
don't desire you, that's not a preference, that's a fantasy.
yeah, it is. It is. And I think that a lot of women would be with white men if they could be with them. So of course they're encouraging other women to do this thing because they think it's greater because they think white people are greater for whatever reason.
Mm.
Um I think I think that to be ruled by that type of racial mindset, I think that's a little more dangerous than being controlled and ruled by racism. And I'll tell you why, because if you're a person who automatically thinks that, you know, white is right, white is better, white people are better than your people, that means that when you're in the midst of your people, they know that you're not going to be loyal to them at all.
Right.
They can't count on you. I mean, you can't even be trusted because see, you already think that other people are better than them right off the rip.
Exactly. Yes.
And don't let that other people come in there. Okay, don't let that white man or that Asian man or whoever you crave and fantasize about happen to step on the scene. You're automatically you are 99% likely to throw your people under the bus for that person if they're on the scene. If the situation arises, you will throw your people under the bus.
Yeah.
Okay, because
Man,
you are
that's
so
another video right there.
yeah, you're infatuated and you're obsessed with these
That's
people.
another video.
All
Wow.
right, you're already infatuated with these people, so why wouldn't you throw your people under the bus for these people? So I think they're even more dangerous because people that are being ruled by racism, I don't think that they have that mind state. They have the mind state of the white man got his foot permanently planted on my throat.
Huh.
So they're not thinking this person is greater or should I say worth more than their people. I think they are more in an oppressed kind of mind state where they think that because of these people I can't make a move. Because of these people, I can't get a job. Because of these people, I can't get a car. I can't get a house. I can't do this. I'm gonna fail. I can't succeed. I think they're in that mind state.
Right.
I don't think they have the love of white folks
Right.
as someone who actually is like, oh, go be with the white man or the Asian man. Those are people just love white folks. They just love white folks. So yeah,
So they just love white folks.
they just love white folks. Period.
Oh, this has been wonderful for me, brother. This has
Yes.
been great.
I'm glad. I'm glad you came through, Doc. It's always a pleasure when you come through. I always like when you come through. I always learn stuff when you come through. We got to do this again. I know it'll probably be another 9 months before I can get you to come on again.
Shots, you taking shots for real?
I know it's gonna be another 9 months or so, but I'll keep plugging at it. I have to keep plugging at it. I'm telling you, the doc is busy, y'all. She's really busy. She's a hard person to lasso. Trust me, very, very hard to lasso.
But I will make sure that I'll come back sooner than said 9 months.
Okay. I'm gonna hold you to that, doc.
Okay. I know you will.
But I appreciate you coming through, Doc. I always do. I got a lot of respect for you and the nuggets that you drop. I hope everybody was listening. If you wasn't listening, you might want to rewind this tape back because the Doc always drops nuggets for your mind. Hopefully, your mind is able to catch them with your white folks loving selves. And and yeah, Doc. I guess I'll be hitting you up at some point, Doc. Like I said, thanks for coming through. I appreciate it, Doc. Peace.
Thank you so much.
Peace, Doc. Yeah, we just got off the line with the one and only Dr.YaYa. Give her a round of applause. Yeah. And like I said, the doc always drops nuggets. She always brings it to you pretty raw, man, and she's pretty straight up and she's very down to earth. Most people with her credentials are not that down to earth. I mean, the lady has a PhD in freaking anthropology and clinical psychology. You know, she double degreed. You know, and usually when people are that degree, they are not that down to earth. The doc is really, really down to earth. That's why I was telling y'all, if y'all want to shoot her some questions, y'all could have, you know, because she's just that kind of person, and the doc is mad, mad cool. Hopefully I can get her back on here before another 9 months. I've been trying to get her on here for like weeks, boy. I'm telling you, she hard to rustle, boy. She hard lady, got a lot going on, but it's always an enjoyable night. When the doc comes through, you're guaranteed to learn something if you have an open mind. You know the saying, open your mind. But anyway, we probably gonna close this out a little early tonight. We usually go to about 12, but tonight we're gonna close it up a little early. I need y'all to jump on down there to the Prophet of Thought series Facebook page. That's Prophet of Thought, one word series on Facebook. That's the main page. Go there, like, share, follow the page. Hit me up with a message. I always answer within the next day or two. Usually within a day, I'll hit you back with an answer. Go ahead. That's our main page. Go ahead and check it out, man. Like I said, like, share, follow the page, leave me a little note or something. I'll hit you back. Also, get on over to the T.P.O.T bandwagon page. That's one of our personal pages. You can actually send out a friend request. I'll make sure that it gets accepted really, really quick. I promise. Also, get on down there to the Prophet of Thought series fan group page. That's the Prophet of Thought series fan group page on Facebook. Go up there, request to be a member. You'll get accepted quick. There's always some good stuff on there. There's like 2,800 people in the group. You don't have to just listen to X talk crap all the time. There's other people on there posting, and they be talking crap too. So go on up there and join the old Prophet of Thought series group page. Be one of the 3,000. Also, hit us up on WhatsApp and Instagram. That's right, Prophet of Thought on Instagram. Follow us on Instagram. You're guaranteed to get a follow back. Also, check us out on Twitter. We talk about this every week, black folks. Follow us on Twitter. It's at T.P.O.T Media on Twitter. That's at T.P.O.T Media on Twitter. Follow us, or I will haunt your ass in your dreams for eternity. Yeah, also get on down there to the website, www.don'teventryit.wikifoundry.com. That's www.don'teventryit.wikifoundry.com. Always some good stuff down there. You can check the old X archives from the Nubia Hood radio days and get some links to some news channels and news stories that's happening all over the world. And also, you can check out Teacher Tanisha's online store. It's up. Stuff is getting added to it every day. You can go in there and check it out. She sells all kinds of cultural, healing, spiritual things. She sells fitted caps and socks and jewelry and all kinds of stuff. So get on up there to the Prophet of Thought series webpage. That's all www.don'teventryit.wikifoundry.com. Check out Teacher's online store. And while you're there, make sure you stop by the old Tribute to the Fallen. Like always, I always mention this, Tribute to the Fallen is a page that I built for people who have met a senseless, needless death, either by street violence or police violence. If you got somebody that you want to be honored on the Tribute to the Fallen page, send me their name and the photo so I'll know who they are, and I'll make sure they get up on the Tribute to the Fallen carousel, because I feel like these people should be honored as long as I'm around. All right. Anyway, make sure you have your black behinds here next week, because next week is going to be good, y'all, because tonight I was actually on the phone with the one and only Dr. Umar Johnson. That's right, you heard me. I was on the phone with Dr. Umar tonight. I'm trying to get him up here for next Wednesday. It's kind of in the clouds right now. Thursday on DXL, I got another good guest. I'm not going to tell y'all about that. Y'all going to have to watch the promo to find out who it is. But we're trying to get Dr. Umar Johnson up here on Wednesday night. I'm working on it now. I actually was just on the phone with him about 2 hours ago. So we're trying to make it happen for y'all. So we might mess around and have Dr. Umar up here. So look out for that next week. Once again, I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. I want to thank my mods in the chat, always doing what they supposed to do. I want to thank everybody for coming out and participating. And I also want to thank you for showing up and watching and spending some time with us tonight. It's always appreciated. Make sure on your way up out of here, if you didn't hit the like on the way in, make sure that you hit up in here on the way out, whether you're gonna hit the old like button or you want to hit the old Streamlab button right there. If you can see it right there, right about there somewhere. Go ahead, drop a few coins in the bucket. I know you got it. If you feel like you want to be generous with your coins tonight, go ahead and drop a few in the bucket. It's greatly appreciated. Once again, I want to thank all of y'all for coming through tonight, and make sure you have your black behinds here next week. Same time, same damn channel, right here on DXL. So, with that, I will leave you. And a big shout out to Dr.YaYa for coming through tonight. All right. So, with that, I will leave you with 3 words. Like I always do, open your minds. And we out of here, y'all. Peace, folks.
Yes.
Only from T.P.O.T.